Operation No Notes. Part 2.
One of the best games of the season.
One of the best games?
One of the best games.
Obviously one of the ones I managed to miss because, I don't know, anniversary, wedding, or one of those.
I think you tend to miss the best games.
Yeah.
But all games are good. So.
Yeah, obviously
You
they're
don't wanna
all
miss a
great,
single one.
so I don't miss any good games, only miss the other good games. All right. Once again, it's at PRC field. It's an 18 hours, primarily flag flipping game with some occasional extra objectives, but you're going to tell me more about it because you were actually there. And the unique aspect about this game, and the reason why it's called No Nods, is it was founded in order to balance it out a little bit more with the guys who don't have night vision. That's the reason why it's called No Nods. So even at night, you're not supposed to bring night vision, or you're not allowed to bring night vision. So how does this whole thing actually felt in terms of during the night by not running night vision, but how did the whole thing now felt? Because it's kind of unusual for us by now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely is. But I think it was amazing because everyone was in the same playing field. Like, sometimes I really want to play without night vision just for the experience, but then I know that people on the other side are running their night vision, so I'm like, well, if they're doing it, I got to run my night vision too, because why would I put myself in a disadvantage if I actually have night vision myself? But since everyone is on an equal playing field at No Nods, it's, I think, a ton of fun. You can really, really sneak around, use the shadows to your advantage, and yeah, it's just a blast because everyone is on the same playing field. It's really fun.
I think I basically missed the night portion of this game. I had a cold.
Weak. You didn't even have to drive.
Wait, you were there during the day, but then you...
I got tired.
You went to bed.
Oh.
Yeah. It was great. The night portion was a lot of fun. A lot more fun than the day portion. Because of the night, it was really fantastic. Because we got in a truck. Delta, the host of the game, was driving us around. We were playing Alt 4. And we would just load up, head out, fight some enemy, and then walk back to CP. And then it would just continue that over and over again. Constantly just...
But you were kind of up for like the third team in order to trying to balance the whole thing out a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of cool stories actually happen then during the day or compared to the night, during the day, night, whatever?
More
It's up to you if you have one. Well, I think during the day, like as you've already kind of mentioned, so we were op force, so we were maybe guarding an objective or guarding in VIP or doing some role playing. But initially during the day, we were in the 3-story building, and both enemy teams were supposed to assault a 3-story building, and I forgot what, but we were guarding something in the 3-story. I don't know if it was a suitcase, but it was, anyway, we had to guard something in there. Yeah. And yeah, I think because we were held up by traffic a little bit, we were a little bit late, or we were getting slow getting ready. But anyway, so we basically walk into the 3-story, and our team lead was kind of splitting us up on where to be positioned. And me and Mike, we went to the 3rd story in that connector where you can look down toward the kitchen. And we were expecting, the game is not going to be on for like another like half hour or something. So we were kind of like, moving chairs into position that we could stand and shoot like at a steeper angle down out of the window, and, just building some cover. And then all of a sudden we look out and we're like, there's a wall coming out from the kitchen, and on one side of the wall we could see green guys, and on the other side of the wall we could see tan guys. And we're like, wait, are these guys like in game already, or are they just like touring the field? And then we saw that they were like pieing the corners, and they were basically about to engage each other, and we're like, oh, guess where it's on. So rather than waiting for the two teams to shoot at each other, Mike and I made the decision, we'll take them out both at the same time, because we had that.
Sounds fair.
Yeah, we had the perfect drop on them, and then we took out a huge group from both teams, and then we just defended the 3-story for a pretty long time. And if I remember correctly, I was the last one of us to survive. So I was very proud. And I remember I got the call from the radio. I don't know if it was you. Someone radioed in Moritz, start calling your hits and and finally get out of there. So yeah, that was awesome because we could fight both teams. We had a vastly superior position in the 3-story, and we held out for a really long time. So that was, I think, the opening firefight. I don't know if you guys want to jump in with some other stories.
You have any? I don't have too many day stories actually. All the stories are mainly in the night. That's when a lot of the fun kicked in.
We can jump to the night too if you don't more day stories.
Oh, okay, yeah. So during the night, I think there was only like 6 of us, No, it was like 5 of us, and we were loaded onto Delta's truck. 2 in the trunk, 1 in each seat. And essentially, Delta had nods, so we were running.
Oh, he was running nodes.
He was running nods.
Sounds legit, yeah.
Yeah, so he was driving us around in pitch darkness. He said, "Oh, I found some enemy." Drove up right in front of them, stopped, told us to jump out. 6 guys jumping out, and just lighting up the entire enemy without like anything expected. Lit them up, destroyed them. They all went back to CP, and we just slowly walked back to CP.
You didn't went back in the car at least, because that would be the correct way.
No, he would. He just drove off afterwards. He left us. Yeah. It's really good firefight. It happened a couple times.
He did it all the time.
Basically, all the night was just like, all right, guys, truck's leaving. Oh, hold on.
That sounds like fun.
It was an amazing game. Yeah.
Next year.
Wasn't there a big firefight later in the evening too, where you guys held like a position for very long?
Oh yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know if I'm getting the
I heard some
object.
stories, but we might mix up stuff now.
Wasn't this where we were put into the gym and we were?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. Okay. Yeah. So we were. So for anyone that knows Picton, there's the gym, and then there's kind of the little structure. I don't know what it was, like a child's kindergarten or something. There's like paintings on the wall, like it's a connector from the 2-story to the kitchen to the gym. Anyway, we were told we had to guard something. Again, I forgot what it was. we had to guard something.
It doesn't matter.
I think it was just the area.
I think I don't know. I think they had to bring something there and do something with it. Who knows?
Oh, when you had to build these defenses, right?
Yeah, so we built like some massively well-defended area, but actually only in the gym. So we were in the actual, on the actual court defending the gym. And yeah, we had some seriously good firefights, and we held it for a really, really, really long time. But then actually after fighting for like 3 hours, it turns out we were not just supposed to hold the physical gym itself, but the entire gym complex. Mm-hmm. So they just achieved the objective regardless. We weren't guarding the proper areas, but it was still a good firefight. But yeah, it was really good. And then the other huge objective or huge part of the game was we had a downed pilot scenario. So I switched out of the op4 role and I played the downed pilot. So it was.
That was the part where you screamed like a little girl on the stretcher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I have that footage too. So.
Yeah, that was hilarious. So I went to the it wasn't a 3-story building, and I was in one of the rooms playing a downed pilot, and I had a little lantern, and it was like screaming, "Oh, my legs are broke! My legs are broke!"
Like a little lantern.
Yeah, literally a little lantern. Yeah, like one I'm holding. Yeah.
That sounds like milsim, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, purely milsim.
Hardcore.
So I think the green team. I think it was the green team. The green team found me first, and they bandaged me up, and then they were like amazing. They were carrying me around and stuff, and then I was so amped up to be this role play guy. And it was like guys, and the one guy carried me like just on his back. The other guy carried me like wedding style. They almost knocked out my head when they were trying to get me through a doorway. And then it came down to going down the stairs, and then I was like, guys, just carry me, you got this. But then someone had to be responsible and was like, no, he should probably walk. He's gonna break a back or something.
Wait, they were worried about the guy, not about you?
No, they were worried about me. I think it was was being responsible.
Oh,
and yeah, like always. So they made me walk down the stairs, but then they carried me again, and they carried me into the helicopter, which was like Delta's truck. And then so once I was in the truck, some of them jumped into the truck as well, like guarding me. But then we started driving away, and then Delta basically simulated that the helicopter crashed. Which was the truck just stopping, putting the hazards on. And then that was really close to some of the tan side positions. So they weren't really briefed on what's going on. So I was just in the truck like yelling like, help me, I'm injured, I'm a very important person, someone help me. And they came running, and I think the first people that got to me was Talon, like Jeremy.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, anyone that knows him, he's like working out, and you can see pictures on I think Ontario Geardo of him lugging around like huge trees and everything. So once he saw me and I was like, oh, I'm a very important person, he was like, oh, like come with us. And I was like, oh, my legs are broke, I can't move. And you could just see you could see the sparkle in his eyes. He was like, I've trained for this. And he threw me on his back and carried me to their kind of fighting position. And then they dropped me off there, and they kind of were like, so now that we've dropped you off, you're and I think they had to bandage me and all that stuff. And then they were like, so who are you? Like, why did we bring you here? I'm an important person. And I wasn't really sure how to answer that because I wasn't briefed by Delta yet. So it was like, like I just know I'm very important to someone, and I think the person that I'm very important to is called Delta, hinting to the fact that I'm talking about Delta. So once it established, they made contact with Delta, and then they guarded me, and then they had to bring me to another extract point, where again it was Talon's task to carry me there because I still couldn't move for some odd reason. But he was really happy again, and they carried me there. They achieved the objective. They threw me in the next helicopter, and then I was on my way. So that was pretty awesome.
Delta's not Delta Force, right?
No.
It's like the game host.
Delta,
Right.
Delta, the game host. Yeah.
It's very important to establish that one.
I just want to say I was very impressed by the role playing of the players that and this is the first time I ever saw Moritz role playing live.
Shut up! Thanks, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine. Put it in. They're gone. All right, cool. Legs are gone. Breathing. I can't hear him. Steven. You might have been. Get that cut down there. Okay, guys, just stay close. All right, geez, that's a serious one. You're gonna be okay, buddy.
I don't know, man.
All right.
Who is this?
Okay, it's me, Mark.
Tell my wife. Tell my wife I love her.
Okay.
I don't like my kids though.
Don't talk like that, man. Don't talk like that.
I see light. I see light.
You're gonna tell yourself how much you love them.
I see light. Should I walk toward it?
Roger, make sure there's something in the area. Everybody, give me your head. Give me your head.
And I was just like, wow, is he really like screaming? And it was awesome. It added to the immersion. And I was particularly impressed by the people that carried you. In a milsim, like I'm usually pretty tired by my own kit. Like I'm kind of surprised like they were able to actually carry you and run so fast.
Dude, I mean, we both were carried around this year by various people. It's kind of a thing. As soon as you roleplay, you have to be carried. It's kind of standard by now. But they always pick the kind of guy who's like, okay, boom. And it feels like nothing, and you're on the back like, ow, 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 ow. It's like you suffer more being on top than the guy actually runs around with you. Jeez, there's some really crazy guys out there.
You guys remember that time we were sent to that forest? They were like,
oh my.
Yeah. So So basically, it was Delta kind of just told us like, oh, here's this laptop. It contains very important intelligence.
Oh, the laptop story, I heard that.
So you're, just protect this laptop and go into this forest, and I'll send both teams to attack you. So what we did was we hid the laptop inside Rich's plate carrier. Was it Rich? Yeah. Like it was.
Rich's plate carrier.
Yeah. So we hid the laptop in the back plate of the plate carrier.
We took the plate out and we put the took the plate out and put the laptop in. So
that's a brilliant idea to hide it.
Yeah. So it was all amazing, super good setup and everything. The thing is, then we waited there for an hour or so, maybe. And then no one attacked us. So apparently this forest contains a lot of mosquitoes. I remember just sitting there and just and like you would just like I spent that entire hour just killing mosquitoes. Yeah.
And then they finally found the laptop then? Or?
I don't think they ever ended up attacking.
No, they did.
We ended up changing objectives and had to move somewhere else to another objective, where we made contact with green team, and then it was me, Steven, and we made it troubling for them. We're just like, we're not allowed to tell you anything. You're supposed to strip search us. Or like search us in general.
The strip searches. You enjoy that part, yeah?
Yeah, I guess so. So I had this one very, very aggressive guy. Literally, mag's out, everything's out, taking out punches, everything. And literally, at the end of it, I was like, can I put my gear back on? I'm getting cold. Yeah.
Wasn't it a summer game?
Huh?
Wasn't it a summer game?
Yeah, but it was night and you sweat a lot and you get cold.
Fair enough.
But yeah, otherwise...
Yeah, I mean, that's how they ultimately found the laptop, because when you guys were doing that, I think it was Rich, me, and I forgot who, maybe Altman, I don't know who was there. Maybe it was you there, I forgot.
We gave it up because they couldn't find it.
Yeah, so like, they literally like stripped shirts. Rich that was in the tan team that like patted us down like really good. And then they searched Rich, and they didn't find a laptop. Like
There's a famous story, like they're supposed to find the laptop, but they even looked in the tiniest pocket.
They opened like all my my medical pouch, like every little pouch they looked into, and then
The hat, like
yeah, when they were searching Rich, they like patted him down and everything, and they didn't find the laptop. But we felt bad because they put such a good effort, but not good enough effort into searching us. We were like, hey, like check the back plate pocket, and they finally found the laptop. Yeah, they were pretty pissed actually that they didn't find it. But I remember there was at the beginning of when we first started to walk around, a couple of times people would stop us, and they would they shot us, and they would walk up to us and be like, oh, like you're searched. And I'd be like, no, buddy, like manual search. Like you've actually like pat me down.
I want to be touched.
Yeah, and like,
Like a man.
literally I had some guys who just looked at me and just walked away. Like they just didn't want to deal with it. They're like, no, thanks. But yeah, I think overall guys enjoyed the little bit more realistic aspect rather than just touching someone being like you're searched. I think the actual manual search was well received.
So hiding a laptop in a plate carrier apparently is a brilliant strategy. Are there any other tactics or gear lessons you learned from this one?
No, I think that was just one game. What really stood out to me at that game was there was one time where we breached into the kitchen, and I remember I think it was Steven and you were on point. Yeah. So I was third man. I was like coordinating, the radio, getting our guys together, and then Steve and Jeff started to work their way to the kitchen, and I guess the usual traditional way of working your way into something is slowly plying the corner, waiting for your target to pop up, and then I guess shoot at it. But the way Steve and Jeff it is, they just let the corner like, and I don't even know how many rounds you guys dumped on that entry into that kitchen. It was just
It's not a
guys.
skirmish game, man.
No, it was that we made point. Steven was on point. Got contact from the main area of PRZ that's lit mainly, because it's got like a second floor. So we're getting fire from there. Steven was putting down more rounds than I can put down.
More than you?
Yeah, because then that's when I first had the first game with a stealth gun, and my trigger wasn't tuned to what I wanted it to be. So I was firing fast, but Steven was firing as well as bump firing.
Yeah.
So Steven was putting down more rounds than I was, and it's just loads of rounds going into this one point. Ended up getting like knifed from the back, the both of us.
Oh yeah, you get knifed.
What?
Yeah.
I thought you were the third man, dude.
Because Moritz got killed,
Yeah.
and then he came up and hit us, and it hit us.
Yeah.
I was just like, great, fantastic.
If you get killed from behind, you do something right or very wrong with your team.
No, like I wasn't killed by the knife guy. I was shot from a completely different angle. But then I was sitting there with the dead guys that they had already killed. And then I remember Steven went dry on his gun, and he did an amazingly fast reload. Like he stepped back, and then Jeff stepped forward and started shooting, and Steven just like gassed up his gun again. And the two dead guys, I think they were ghosts. They were just like, oh, that was pretty cool. that was pretty awesome. But yeah, then we were just us 2 or 3 dead guys were sitting there. And we just see this guy like sneak up from behind and just stab you 2 guys in the back. It was pretty hilarious. Yeah, it was good to watch.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
In terms of what I learned, this was the first game I ever used the P90. And, I always thought like the P90 is like an amazing concept where it's like, it's so short, it's a bullpup gun, it's perfect for CQB. But I actually found like, I'm not a big guy, but I actually kind of found that like the P90 is just too small. Like it's kind of hard to get a feel for aiming it when the entire mass of the gun is like this far in front of you, So I found that I didn't like the P90.
All right, fair enough. I think that sums up No Nods 2. Cool. Guys, Operation Forest Operator.
Was pretty
We'll have to go for
operationally
that
sound.
So it's again one of those games where I think I had a very good reason to not attend. And it's formerly known as Operation Operator. To kind of get the point across of this whole game, it's not the most serious game in the season. It's more for new guys who want to get in the whole milsim thing. It's quite fair for these kind of guys. And so it's on a TFS paintball field, 24-hour objective-based milsim. And again, it's more of an entry-based milsim game. So none of us attended this game except Moritz. So
The most experienced guy went to the beginner's game.
you want to believe that? Yeah, sure. Once you get married. So it's our job to keep asking me questions about this game. So let's start with a few stories until we interrupt you.
Sure. So actually, I took Jordan Jason there because it was his first milsim after Nightfall, and I wanted to, because Nightfall is more urban ops based, so I wanted to take him to Forest Operator because it's a Forest game in preparation for Deadfall. Because as just picking up Airsoft at the beginning of this year, I figured it made sense to kind of get that going before going to Deadfall. So we went, and I was actually kind of surprised. There was actually it wasn't purely beginners. There was actually a lot of pretty legit guys. So it turned out to be a really good game. Went the full duration of the game, and there was no trouble, no sissy stuff. So yeah, overall it was a really cool game, and it was Jordan Jason's first time of using nods. So he obviously had a blast. So
He's not a virgin anymore.
No, and pretty much after he used the nods there, like Delta gave him nods, I gave him a laser, and then he was pretty much sold on the nods. So and he bought them. So yeah.
But that's not the only story. I mean, you
Oh,
released
you
a
want to hear
video.
stories? All right. Story time. Yeah. Okay, so well, there's a lot of. So it was kind of cool that Jordan Jason and myself. So Jordan Jason being one person. So the two of us, we were basically the only nods on the field. The enemy team had 0 nods except 2 Gen 1s, and we had one more. I think Gen 2 Plus or Gen 3. I think it was a Gen 2 Plus. So we were basically the only nods on the field, which was absolutely amazing. We had so much fun. So yeah, you guys really missed out. You would have had such a blast. But I think so. Most of my stories are actually night related. So,
But you used a thermal during the day. Someone used a thermal during the
That
day.
was the
right?
next game. That was
Oh,
next
next
game.
game,
Next game was the
okay.
summer one.
Yeah, Art of War, Raj and I rocked thermal, but this game we're purely not based. But so yeah, I guess during the day we try to use like our chicken suits and be as stealthy as possible. So we actually didn't really play the game, I guess, during the day that much. So we kind of just separated from the main group, and we just kind of went off, did our own recce thing, and just snuck around, practicing for Deadfall basically, and we managed to sneak all the way behind the enemy lines, and we set out outside their CP, and our idea was like we're going to wait for a patrol to leave their CP and ambush that patrol. What actually happened was that a patrol got back to their CP, and they were basically walking right by us, so we engaged them and we were able to take them out. But the funny thing is, you'd think they either don't say anything and walk back into their CP, respawn and kill us, or I don't know, do something. But what they decided to do was yell out medic, which I guess is not a bad idea, because you'd think that the guys that are sitting in the CP would come out, figure, oh shit, our patrol that's just got back got shot right outside our doorstep. We should probably do something about it. But when the patrol yelled medic, a ton of guys came out of the CP to just stand around these dead guys and medic them without any perimeter, like not realizing that they got literally shot right there. So we had this huge group coming out of their CP, and we just shot them, and no one seemed to care too much about it.
And
So
more people shout medic.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I mean, finally they found us, and then obviously just killed us right away because we were only 2 guys. But yeah, that was the most memorable event, I think during the day. And then when night came, yeah, we nodded up and said we're the only nods. And we weren't quite sure if we're the only nods. You know, you never really know until you can kind of confirm it. But so we were doing like a super stealthy, under full nod approach to the enemy CP. And all of a sudden I would see this huge, like, light, huge amounts of light. But at the time I was wearing, just mono. So I was like, wait, my non-nod eye is not picking anything up. So it must be IR light. I'm like, crap. Like, we're getting IR light. I'm like, Jordan Jason, like, I was like, Jordan Jason, let's jump to cover. Like, we're being lased. And I was like, you see this? And he's like, yeah, I can see it. Like, crap, we're being lased. And we kind of panicked, but it happened basically multiple times the entire night that we jumped to cover because we thought we got laced. But what turns out is the property owner had trail cameras all throughout his property. And
what are trail cameras?
Like, so what it does is if there's wild animals running around, it takes pictures of the animals. So and the camera does that using IR our light to take the picture. So every time that we would move on the trails, the trail cameras were taking pictures of us. But and every time our light went off from the flash basically of the camera, we assumed it was us being engaged. So we would always panically jump to cover. So it was pretty hilarious. And yeah, we didn't realize until the end of the night.
So how long were you guys going on about that?
Oh yeah, like I mean, it went dark at it was summer hours, so probably like 11 something p.m. was when it was really dark, and I think we did not realize until we actually daybreak basically. I think we never really realized until the morning that it was the.
So the
trail
entire
cameras.
night. Don't tell me that the entire time you jumped away because of trail cameras.
Yeah, it happened multiple times, like
But
all night. Yeah.
That was it.
No. I mean, we shot some people too, but.
Yeah. I think those are the more interesting stories. Like.
I guess we could consider this as a tactic for future milsims, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're setting up a CP, we'll just set up those cameras, and every time someone with nods tries to attack us, they're just like, the IRLA shines on, they're just like, oh my god, we're being hit, you know?
Yeah. We didn't have to move much. Like we weren't running around or anything. Just walking by them, they go like, yeah, it's pretty funny.
That's kind of cool. How
But,
expensive are those? Anyway.
Yeah, I guess in terms of cool fights. So one thing we did is we decided the first thing we wanted to do is stock up. As soon as we flipped down our nods, we wanted to stock up on the enemy CP and just get intel on what's happening. So we kind of flanked all the way around toward the enemy CP. And for the guys who have been to TFS, there's a bunch of little creeks that go through the entire property. I don't know, have you guys ever been?
No, but
Yes, there's a bunch of little creeks that go through the property, and there's bridges, just maybe this wide that go over it. So you have to kind of like balance your way across.
with knots.
With nods, right? So I was like, but whatever. Like, I mean, I have the new guy with me. I have to kind of show off. Like, right?
No.
So I was like, okay, no one is going to expect us coming through this creek because, it's such a small bridge. It's at night. So obviously that's the route we're going to take. So I started walking over this bridge under nods, and I missed a step on that bridge. And that creek at that point, I mean, it probably went down like a meter 50 into like a half dried out creek bed. And I was wearing nods, had the rifle. And if I would have taken that fall, it would have been really, really bad. Because one of those things.
Oh, really, really funny.
Really funny. But basically, I missed my step. I lost complete balance. I had a super hard time balancing myself. But luckily, I rebalanced myself, which I don't even know how. Because Jordan said I was pretty much in his mind. I was already like falling off the thing. But I managed to go across, and I see Jordan slowly start to like creep his way on that little wood thing. And it's not even his nod at that point. He was just a loner. So I was like, screw it, and I turned on my helmet flashlight, and it was like, flip up your nod, just walk across it regularly. We're not even gonna risk this. Screw it if we get shot. And yeah, so we made it across, and we snuck all the way to the enemy CP. And yeah, there was no sentry duty, like nothing. And I think it was because a lot of them were out on patrol, and they had just a skeleton crew there. So what we did is we snuck into the CP. And what they did is all throughout the CP, they kind of spread out little glow sticks. I guess that was their idea if they're going to see someone with glow sticks. So my primary objective was tossing glow sticks away / like grabbing them and slowly moving them, just under tents and stuff to kind of hide them. And then we kind of, crawled our way forward, and then bam, I see a guy, and I'm kind of just like tracking him. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's not going to see us. And I'm kind of just waiting, and I see he goes to a table and fumbles around with something. And he puts something on his head. And I was like, oh, it's probably just like a headlamp to find something in his gear bag or something. That's literally how it looked. One nod. It was the nod that was given to you when you bought the Call of Duty. It was the Call of Duty nod. So he had the Call of Duty nod, and I think the only way that thing works, it has a ginormous IR floodlight. So Jordan and I were completely like flooded by this light, and we just like stayed motionless. And then I see him. He looks down to grab his rifle. And at that point, I knew like, fuck. So like I signaled Jordan, and we kind of jumped behind a tent to cover because we thought we were going to be starting a firefight now. He grabs his rifle, walks toward us. We're seeing him. He's kind of looking at us, and he walks right by us. By us. No, we didn't shoot him because we were inside the enemy CP, and we were like, we either want to knife him or let him pass, because our idea was we actually want to inflict way more damage. We want to kill people that are
more
sleeping.
More than one guy, yeah.
Or we want to get the commander. Like, you know, we just don't want to open up right now. So he walks right by us, goes to the edge of the CP and just kind of starts like scanning down the trail. And we just walk up behind him and we're like, you're dead. And he goes like, oh, fuck, how did you guys get past me? Like, we were already here. So he was super confused. And then... So then we kind of walk our way to the middle of the CP, but we know his 5-minute bleed out timer had started. So we were like, oh, like now we got to do something. So I radio command is like, hey, just so you know, we're going to be going hot inside the enemy CP. And then command was like, no, like you're not allowed to go hot inside the enemy CP, because they met up with that other patrol, and they made a truce that we're not allowed to, that CPs are not to be attacked during the night. So we were like, are you serious? So we were standing inside the enemy CP. No one knows about us. We could have killed all of them in their sleep. But command was like, no. And I was like, over there, like, are you sure? Like, are you serious right now? And they were like, yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do it. And I was literally I was thinking about it, like, sorry, like, you're coming broken. And
like, you try to do the Kirk moment, like,
yeah.
I can't hear you. I'm about to murder everybody else sleeping.
Yeah. So I was like, crap. So we walked up to two guys that were sitting on a campfire in the enemy CP, and I sat down next to them, and they kind of look at me like, and I'm like, just so you know, you guys are dead. But we decided we're not actually going to shoot anyone. We're just going to, play it nice. And then as we're sitting there chatting with these two dead guys, some cell phone alarm goes off inside of one of the tents. So then some guy in another tent is woken up. Not the guy whose alarm went off. Yeah. Some other guy wakes up and is like, someone turn off that damn alarm. And like people started complaining. And I say out loud, like, I'll take care of this. And I go to the guy's tent whose alarm was going off, and I unzip it, and the guy was passed out. Like, I don't know how he did not. It was a really loud cell phone alarm right next to his head, and he did not hear it. He was completely passed out. So I shake him open, like I shake him awake. I'm like,
still in the enemy CP.
Still all in the enemy CP. Like wake him up, and I like put a cell phone right in front of his face. I'm like, dude, your alarm is going off. Your team is trying to sleep. Could you please turn it off? And he's like,
you're so nice.
Yeah, no. and he turns it off, and I'm like, oh, and just by the way, you're dead. I'm mercying you. And he kind of just goes like, yeah, and just goes back to sleep. so that was pretty awesome. That was one of the awesome moments of that game.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't remember that part.
I think it's a dream or something. Yeah.
Actually, a question I want to ask you. So, you know how like there's always a debate between monocular night vision versus binocular night vision, right? Yeah. So you're talking about like when you were crossing that bridge over the creek. Maybe if you had better depth perception, would you maybe? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. Like what happened is I totally screwed up my depth perception. What I did is, I mean, all of you guys probably do it too. Like you kind of scanned a long horizon, and then you kind of scan short, long, short, and you kind of you try to remember where you're gonna step based on what the path looks like. And what I kept looking ahead. I didn't look at my feet that much, so I just misstepped and I miscalculated I thought it was way wider than it actually was, and that's how I misstepped. So I think definitely now that I'm running duels, it's definitely going to help.
Now since you're running, yeah. But is it a matter of focus, or is it really a matter of mono versus bino?
I think it's depth perception. I think it wasn't focus. I think it was just because I think even with binos, if you look down, it just, even if it's out of focus, I think you're able to gauge better how wide the thing is you're walking over, and I think that was the problem that I had.
So for the pure sake of balancing over little creeks, it's
absolutely
enough of a reason to
Exactly.
That sounds totally legit.
Totally worth it.
I'm gonna pick up my own set of binos now.
Yeah, we all have to bino up now because of this one moment.
Yeah. So yeah, that was one of the good firefights, and then just in general, we had some amazing firefights just because of the fact that the enemy was, just using flashlights and stuff. And we had this other encounter which was hilarious. Was we're walking down this little path, and I spot someone under nods, but I'm like, I think those are friendlies because there were friendlies supposed to be in the area. And I tell Jordan like, you post up here, I approach them. If they take me out, then you take them out. So I walk up to them and I'm like, yeah, those are definitely friendlies. I'm like, oh, hey guys, I almost shot you. At that moment, they shoot me, and I'm like, oh guys, why'd you shoot me? Like, we're friendly. And they're like, no, like we're enemy. And I'm like, oh my god. So they didn't spot Jordan though. And they kind of just started Jason, yeah. And they start taking off. For some reason, they didn't decide to take me prisoner or anything. I don't even know if it was part of this game. Might have not even been part of this game to be able to take me prisoner. But anyway, those 3 guys start walking off, and they pass me and are on the same path now as Jordan Jason, but walking away from him. So I'm just waiting for Jordan to laze them and kill all of them, right? But this was his first time like ever under nods, like ever, and I'm just waiting. I'm like, hello, like anytime now. And I look at them walk away. I see Jordan walk toward me and toward them basically. And I'm like, I can't say anything because I'm dead. But I'm like kill light. I have a kill light on. They don't. Like hello. And he walks up to me and I'm like, why haven't you shot them? And then he's like, my nod. And I'm like, what do you mean your nod? And I look at him and like, I don't know. He hadn't set it up everything properly, so his knot was like hanging down here. I don't know. I think it was like fogging issues as well or something. I'm like, fuck. I was like, just medic me. And then he medicked me. And then as soon as we were both up, I was like, just shoot that way. And then we just shot all of them.
But that happened to my first knot experience. Yeah. I think Roger put a PVS-14 on my MP7 and gas gun.
Oh god.
So I didn't even have it on my helmet. So every time I had to look through my knots, I had to put the gun up. And was still the most amazing night of my milsim. I mean, the first amazing one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, like
since then, I was like, I need not. Give me not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was. I think it's gonna be the same for Jordan. I think he had so much fun. There was this other firefight where the fun part was actually that our team bedded down quite a bit at night. But the enemy team was incredibly active, especially like they didn't push out like long range patrols, but around their CP, they always felt that need to protect the kind of 200 meters around their CP. That seemed to have been their golden rule of defending. So it was just Jordan and me constantly attacking them all night, but they would always come out and fight, which was amazing. Even though, it was always us and they would always come out with like 15 guys. So we had amazing firefights. And the one time there was two paths leading into their CP, which were connected by, I don't know if it was corn, but by some sort of field. And no, it wasn't corn because we're not allowed to go into corn. It was just tall grass, I think. And basically, my idea was that Jordan goes up one path and I go up the other path, so we make it seem like we're a much bigger force than we actually are. And we start like plinking around, and then eventually I hear Jordan get shot on the other Jordan Jason get shot on the other side. So what I knew is that they're going to come around the other side and going to attack me from behind and still from the front. So I was like, shit, like they're going to get me now. And as I've realized that, I made the decision to just jump into the tall grass. So I just jumped into grass. I was kind of blind, and then I used the legs to kind of make a path back onto the path that the enemy is going to be on, just so that I have a clear line of sight and a clear shot. And then I popped out and I shot one time either way, and then the two enemies started shooting each other on my path, and then they slowly figured it out that they're friendly firing themselves, and then they slowly started walking like by me, and what I should have done is I should have waited till all of them pass and then shoot them in the back.
Couldn't hold back.
I couldn't hold it back, and I was worried they're gonna find me, so I shot like the second guy that walks by me, and I shoot him. And I mean, at that point, they've already established that it's not the people down the path, But again, they just started shooting each other. It's like they just didn't get it for the second time. Again. So yeah, I mean, the night was it was an incredibly amazing game. A, for the fact that we were the only nods, and then B, because the enemy team was incredibly motivated and they just kept coming out all night against just us two. And really props to them, gave us amazing firefights. Even though, I mean, ultimately we always lost all those firefights just because there were so many more numbers. But I think even though they didn't have nods, they had an amazing time just because it was like long, extended, fun firefights. So it was really cool.
I'm pretty sure I can talk for Jordan Jason that the gear recommendation after this game is get knots.
Oh yeah, he bought them basically after.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's around the time he picked up my nod, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you got another after that game too, even though you weren't there.
No. So I already had that set.
Oh yeah, okay.
I was deciding to upgrade. So I decided to keep the nod within the team. Sell it to Jordan. Yeah. Right. But I do want to say though, like airsoft, like it's about the firefights. Like it's not fun when the entire enemy team is just gone, right? Like it's always fun when you just Like when everyone's there and they're all fighting, right?
Yeah, I think.
It happens so often in milsims that the entire enemy team or our own team
Yeah.
completely collapsed, especially at night.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
either leaving, driving home, or like, I can't believe that even in other milsims, like you're there with 200 people, and 150 people go to bed at night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And even with no notes, all the guys who were out keep running.
Yeah.
At least the stories I heard were the guys who normally run knots. So it's not just a matter of do you have knots or not.
It's just
It's a matter of
motivation.
mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
And dedication. And that's why Deadfall is one of those great games where it doesn't matter. All the guys who come, they run the entire fucking 40 hours.
Yeah. That's what I liked about Forest Operator. A, the fact it was in the forest, but B, that the people were so like bang on and stayed up all night. It's
And
pretty cool.
especially respect because they were actually, the whole game was about new guys.
Yeah.
And they actually performed.
They're pretty on point. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, so those are the kind of night stories, and one of the cool day stories, I guess, was that I switched sites for the game. So I
It's a bit unusual.
I know, but I think like I gotta like watch it because like, I think slowly people are getting like really skeptical because I always role play and do random shit. So I think I gotta watch
You're
it.
kind of well known now.
Yeah. So what
It's
happened?
a Doc Holiday. Just shoot him anyhow.
Yeah, exactly. So what happened is so basically what happened is that that Delta was role playing some VIP whatever, and he needed, he basically wanted, a little bit of protection. So Jordan and I, because we were out all night anyway, and we weren't in contact with our command structure because I think most of them went to bed. So we kind of never returned to the CP in the morning, even though we were fighting the other team all night. We never actually got back to the CP, which is actually one of the things because again we practiced for Deadfall. We had all our stuff with us,
Yeah.
so there was no need for us to get back to CP. So in the morning we joined Delta, the VIP, and the other team, and we were the bodyguards of Delta. So what happened is, we just escorted him around and stuff, and then our team ambushed the enemy team to get Delta, and we obviously for a split second pretended that we were still with our team, but then backstabbed our own team and brought some game objective to safety, and then it became obviously the enemy's team. And I think Jordan didn't make it out. They made Jordan and they got him, but I made it out. And then I could just hear over the radio like, guys, just so you know, like that Doc Holiday guy, he flipped on us. He's wearing like, and I can hear Jordan go over the radio like giving my description, like what I'm wearing and everything. I'm like,
Fucking
wow,
traitor, man.
like,
Jordan Jason.
right? Yeah.
Wait, so Jordan Jason is the traitor, and you switch sides, and you're
Yeah, both of us switched sides, but they captured him, so he went back on their side, and they told them like detailed description of me, etc. And then so I was with the enemy team for probably the last 5 hours of the game, basically all the Sunday portion. Yeah,
So at least you were a proper traitor, but he was a snitch.
he pretty much So basically, he was way back into our team, was giving them my description. So yeah, but so they tried to come after me, and what I remember is I think it was the airsoft operators. They brought like a vehicle, one of those like little buggies to the game. And I think one of the idea was just to drive as fast as possible through the enemy lines to kind of get behind the lines and I guess capture me, or because that was their objective at the time. And they booked it, they drove incredibly fast through the lines, but they were just really unlucky because that didn't basically parallel to where they were driving, all the other team was set up in a pretty good defensive position, and they destroyed that vehicle. Like, it was insane. When I came to the vehicle like a couple of seconds after that firefight was over, and I look at the driver, like Nordak, and he literally had like blood running down the side of his face because he was so peppered like with BBs, and I was like, holy shit! Yeah, they absolutely annihilated that car. Which I find funny because a lot of times people are like, oh yeah, the victory always gets overrated. Like, whichever side has a car or Victor or any type of vehicle, it gets kind of overrated. But that just showed that a well laid ambush or fighting position, and it's even tough with a vehicle. So no, but it was a really fun game, and I think definitely recommend going to Forced Operator next year. It's a good game.
All right. Is there any gear or any tactic stuff you want to say? Otherwise,
no, I mean it's just. Like I have a video on it, and I think you're going to probably roll in some footage. But again, we were using chicken suits, and we were pretty well camouflaged. Like, we weren't wearing helmets during the day. We used like hats and boonies and stuff. And I think we were able to during the day to sneak around so much because that's what we did mostly, like gather intel, get to the CP, backstab a couple of people, follow some patrols around. But it was all only possible because of really, really, really good camouflage. And I think that's another thing, be well camouflaged. And again, we were able to be out for so long on Recce. We would be able to out for all night because we had all the stuff within the backpacks with us.
I think that's the important part, that the ability to swap between something not helmet-like, like cap or anything ghillie chicken suit, or whatever you fucking want to call it, and then at night switch to helmet and nods.
Yeah, like I'm not sure, but I think we flipped from a no nod setup to our nods like on the field.
Yeah.
So I think that's so
having
key.
all that on you on the field.
Yeah. So you can like sneak. Yeah, you can sneak your way into the enemy lines without the nods, and you can do all your setup and all your cold gear. You can do it behind enemy lines. So yeah, be well camouflaged. Have all your stuff with you. Pretty key.
I think that sums it up quite well.
Yeah.
All right. That was Forest Operator. All right, guys. Out of war number 2. Let's get hydrated.
I'm out of beer.
You out of beer?
I'm out of beer.
David, beer.
Yeah.
Come on.
All right.
Get some beer. Oh, all right.
So it's again one of those games where only you attended, so we're gonna grill you.
Me and Roger. Me and Roger.
Yeah, but Roger is obviously not sitting on the couch right now.
That is true.
So it's one of those games on Clarington Woods Field. It's an objective-based plus 24-hour objective-based milsim.
Yeah, that's correct.
So this game actually was we never intended it to be the kind of game footage which is all about a little thermal.
Yeah.
But somehow that thermal kind of was so well visible on the whole footage that the whole gameplay which we made out of it was all about that one. So tell me a little bit, because you were next to Roger, who actually ran the thermal at that time. So tell us everything about the thermal.
Yeah, no, it was. We did use the thermal both during the day and the night, and it proved surprisingly effective actually. So yeah, I mean, we had a little CP set up, and there wasn't that crazy of a command structure, so they kind of let me and Roger kind of just do whatever you want. We could do some Recce stuff and sneak around. We chicken suited up, so what we did is we just crawled up on good fighting positions, and then we just waited for enemy patrols to come by us and open up on them. And yeah, every time whenever we were moving, we would just scan the horizon with the thermal during the day to see if there's kind of someone coming, and then once they were, it just helped because I think both sides used camouflage really well during that game. Both ghillie suits, 3D tops, or regular BDUs. So when we're not sure if something is there, we always use the thermal kind of to make sure.
But how much of an advantage was it really compared to, naked?
Yeah, I think during the day it wasn't as crazy, but during the night it definitely made a big difference for us. So at that game, the weather conditions were that there was a lot of moisture and a lot of mist in the air. So the visibility at night, both with your naked eye but also your actual nod eye, was relatively limited. And due to the fact that there was just so much water and mist in the air, it was really hard to pick up contrasts on your nods. So it was kind of hard to see someone that it was like, had low IR signature clothing against the backdrop of like a lot of leaves or something. It was actually pretty hard to make him out. And every time Roger was able to ID the target.
So did you just switch between nods and thermals, essentially, like using the bridge for PVS 14s?
Yeah, and so what happened is, so Roger had the single PVS 14, and then he had the thermal was rifle mounted, so he could just bring the rifle up to his face just to get a thermal picture of the surroundings. So yeah, I can tell some more firefight stories in a bit, but yeah, it was definitely overall in aggregate was pretty useful.
All right. I mean, that whole game.
I mean, I bought a thermal after that game, so.
So I guess it worked quite well.
Yeah, I think thermal in aggregate it's definitely a game changer, and yeah.
As strange as it sounds, that game, and not just that video, was the kind of where everybody in the team were like, "Do we need a thermal now?" "Yes, you do." "Do you really need a thermal?" "Yes, you should better get a fucking thermal."
Yeah, I think it was a natural progression. I think we started out with whatever nod you can get. Then it was like, higher gen nod, and now it's like duals. Yeah, thermal too. So I think that's kind of it, the latter.
Thermal is still above any kind of bino setup, right?
Yeah, I think like if someone has already I think always go single nod first. Don't go straight to the thermal, I think. I think the single nod is still more beneficial because you can nav a lot better with it at night. But I think if you're making the choice between going from a single nod to either dual nod or thermal, I'd always go single nod thermal rather than, I think, dual nod. Yeah.
When you're navigating or doing recce with thermal and night vision, when you have the thermal on, do you see any like foliage? Like if let's say you were behind a big tree, and then I was looking at you through nods, and I want to be able to see you, but I was looking to thermal, would I also be able to see you through that tree?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't go through the tree, but it's just it must be a really big tree to fully conceal you, but it's just like a regular tree. If maybe your shoulders or arms are poking out on either side, under nod, you might just be like, oh, it's just some irregularity in the tree, some funny branches or something. But with a thermal, it's just you have the cold tree and then just that like warm heat glow behind it. So you can definitely see. Or if you're just in right in the middle of some brush or some, some foliage, nods, it just seems like, a plain wall of foliage. But with a thermal, you can just see that heat signature come out.
But you're saying in whatever you experience so far with the current thermals that during the day they're less efficient, but at night they really shine?
Yeah, I mean, at night it was unreal how it helped us. But I think during the day, one of the problem was that the game was it was pretty good weather during the day at the game. So the sun was heating up. It was kind of baking all the rocks and all that stuff. So when you were scanning during the day, the tree line, it would, every rock would seem like a human that's lying prone. So that was during the day a little bit tough, but then at night when everything, the temperature of all the surroundings cooled down, the humans started to show more and more and more. So yeah,
sucks to be human, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's talk through the game. Besides the one which we already know from the video, what are the big highlights from that game where you're like, that's actually a story worth telling?
I think one of the highlights we had is that we were attached to a random patrol. Like I said, we were kind of just rolling solo, but then we were attached to some random patrol. And what happened is the people on point of that patrol thought they took contact or did take contact, but anyway, it ended up being a firefight. And the thing is, we made kind of like a circular motion around our CP, and Roger and I kind of felt the direction we're shooting in is kind of toward our CP. So there's a large chance that what we're actually engaging might be friendlies, right? So Roger and I were kind of at the rear flank of our patrol, while kind of the center and front was engaging, the perceived enemy at the time. And Roger and I were like pretty sure that it's friendly. Like there's a really high chance that it's friendly. So we didn't engage. We kind of just sat back and we tried to use the thermal and just our optics to kind of. It was during the day, so like it was tough with the thermal to really see. But yeah, we saw people moving. We're like, I don't know, it's awfully close to our CP. That could just be a friendly patrol leaving CP. But the firefight went on for pretty long, like 10-15 minutes, and I think ultimately Roger and I made the decision that this firefight is just going to keep on going until one side loses, and we're not going to be the side that loses. So
if friendly fire, at least if
it's friendly fire, at least you want to win that firefight. So Roger and I made the decision kind of to flank around and attack whoever that was from the side, and I think we did take a couple of those guys out, but it turns out it was friendly. But I mean,
obviously,
regardless, good shooting on our end. But the reason this firefight broke out is because the friendlies were kind of on a little hilltop, and our friendlies were on a little bit of a hilltop. So we're shooting basically over a little valley. But in the inside, on the bottom of the valley, there was tall grass, and that's where the enemy was. So it was probably actually enemy initially, shooting our patrol. But when our patrol turned around and they saw something in the distance, which was another friendly patrol, they just started shooting each other. It was the enemy right in between us, and then after all that, the chaos was solved. We closed in on the enemy in the middle and took them out as well. But it was pretty hilarious that we won the firefight against the friendlies. So. Always good. Those are the best. Those are the best
minimum
firefights.
Standard for
minimum,
fire,
gold standard.
So start with one of your coolest moments of the game. I mean, now coming slowly more to the evening, right?
Yeah. So I mean, Nightfall was pretty fun. We just wanted to take full advantage, I guess, of the nods and the thermal. So we were up all night, and I just remember this one moment where we got back from being out for pretty long to the CP, and we're pretty tired. So I guess Talon was being nice, and he gave us an easy tasking, which was just guarding one side of the CP, and kind of to give you a little understanding of the CP was on top of a little elevated kind of hill, and it was just on one side it was surrounded by forest, and the other side was just open, like tall grass that went down like a hill, like a slope. And then next to the slope there was a small, like maybe 2 meter wide kind of tree line that went along a road. So Roger and I decided to post up in that tree line so we could, look down the hill over that open grass area in case anyone snuck up. We know the road was out of play right behind us, just a meter behind us, but we had a good view on the kind of open grass. So at first we were going to be all like stealthy and, hide and, ghillie suit up and everything, but then be operator and stuff. But then kind of laziness kicked in and we decided, hey, let's just, take our camping chairs and get comfortable.
Let me guess, these camping chairs were fully legit milsim one, like with this wide, bright red.
Yeah, they were the $9 ones from Canadian Tire with a Canadian flag on them, of course.
Yep, that sounds.
Tactical Canadian issued launchers.
It's still better than the
Pretty
American with the blue in there, but otherwise.
So we took them, but we took a Ranger blanket, so we were somewhat camouflaged.
But you shared the blanket, right?
Of course, that you gotta.
Yeah,
that's how it works, right?
Nothing happened again.
Nothing happened again. So we were just sitting there, watching the starlight under our Ranger blanket, just kind of relaxing. Yeah, it was very romantic. So we're just philosophing about stars, our nods, and the usual thermals, the usual conversations that you tend to have at milsims. And then basically, I think it was Roger that saw it through his thermals, because again, with all the mist that was kind of down there in that valley, we were like, oh shit, like. It's movement. The heat signatures are down there, and I'm like, I don't see anything with my nod. And he didn't see anything with his nod. The only way we picked up these heat signatures with a thermal, and we were being a little bit cocky, and we're like, yeah, it's not really time to get in a fighting position yet. We'll just sit in our lawn chair. And then the way the hill was went down pretty steep, we kind of lost sight of them. Which is probably the time where, you figured, hey, they're just walking at the bottom of this hill and they're going to come up like right parallel onto, in your tree line or right next to your tree line. But we knew that the tree line was pretty thick further down, so we figured they're going to come right parallel up right in front of us. But, at that point, we should have probably gotten in somewhat of a comfortable fighting position and hit the lawn chairs, but... Nah. So we're kind of just sitting there, and basically we sat there for way too long. We looked we looked left, and then it was like, shit, they're like 15 meters away. Like we're gonna get lit up, because like we knew that the enemy team had a couple of nods, so we figured they probably gave some nods to their
recon team
to the people. No, we're not talking recon team. This is like a 15-20 man group that came up. Like we're not talking small scale.
At least the point man had nods, right?
Well, at the time,
maybe
we weren't sure yet, but we obviously assumed the worst, and we knew over the radio just from listening to because we were obviously listening to their radios like it always is. We knew that command told us like, hey, like we're hearing over the radio chatter that they're going to do a major assault on our CP. So we knew shit, like it's Roger and me, and that's the main assault force, like.
And
we're still sitting, cuddled up in our Canadian Tire camping chairs. But then at that point, on the road behind us, a car comes along from the entrance of the field.
Of the game.
The car was part of someone that was participating in the game. Actually, interesting thing. During the day, Roger and I were posted up at the exact same position earlier in the day, obviously without camping chairs, just standing on that little elevated tree line, scanning. And actually, a car drove by that was not part of the game. And it was a man and a woman, and they stopped and they rolled down the window. Like, oh, what are you guys doing? And we were just like, we obviously assumed they were part of the game. Like, this is a hot field, right? And we were kind of just like, it's kind of like paintball, like, and they're just like, oh wow, it's pretty intense. Sounds like real gunfire. And we're just like, yes, not that intense. And luckily,
the fact that you had to call it paintball to get away is
it was like one of those situations, but they drove off and it was good. But anyway, this car was part of someone that was part of the game. But what I'm trying to say, it came driving down the road toward us, but also like obviously toward the enemy, which was approaching from down the hill. And we were obviously terrified with a car, the headlights of the car. We're obviously going to be made, because I mean the glowing red and white launchers are definitely going to stand out now. So I think as the car drove up, we kind of both hit the deck, and we kind of pull down the camping chairs with us, and we're just like lying prone, hoping that no one is going to see us. And I think to our advantage, while we did that, I think the approaching people's eyes were also flushed out by the huge headlights, so I think they didn't see us. But anyway, the car drives by us, by the enemy that's coming up the hill, and then pulls onto the grass of the field all the way at the bottom, and then drives up parallel again up our tree line. So it passes the enemy force, and it is basically on the same height as us. But if you've ever used nods, or even with your regular eye, if you look at a car that's coming at you with a huge
You're
lights,
blind.
completely flushed out, right?
Yeah.
Like both my non-nod eye and my nod eye was completely flushed out. And since we saw the headlights coming, we both ducked down to cover. We feel the car drive by us, and so we're on an elevated position, maybe a meter above that tall grass, or then not even tall grass, maybe the grass was this high. But you get my point.
Tall grass.
Tall grass, yeah. So we're just
There's a
lying
lot.
prone behind this fallen over tree, and car drives by below us. We go up looking down, expecting that, the enemy is still maybe like 15 meters to our left, and the car is going to go to our right toward our CP, because it turns out it was a coffee supply run or something, one of those things, right?
Yep,
So-
I never heard about those.
But what the enemy thought they're going to do is use the headlights of the car that's approaching CP to their advantage, shielding their approach. So they, like all of these 20 guys, ran after the car. So when we got, up right after the car, expecting they're still 50 meters to our left, like, no. They were a meter down from us,
Oh, fuck.
meter in front of us.
And they still haven't spotted you.
And they still had no idea we're there. So that was one of these amazing moments where you just like, that kill counter is gonna go like ding 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 ding. So yeah, both of us we had a really cool engagement. We went pretty hard, pretty ham on them. It was pretty awesome.
So,
yeah.
so you stopped all 20?
So we started engaging them pretty heavily. We definitely inflicted some serious damage, and then obviously support kind of came from CP. But the thing is, the enemy attacking force had another group that attacked from a totally different direction. So CP was pretty busy dealing with that, and it was kind of just us. But we sensed that there's someone is kind of helping us out of the shadows, but we weren't really sure at that time, I think, what was going on, if I remember it correctly. But anyway, we took those enemies out. We had help coming from CP, but the help that came from CP, what they mostly did is just grab the people that we shot, took them prisoners, and brought them back to CP, because it's one of those games where if you get prisoner, you're out for a couple of hours. So it's pretty key that we capture those people and they're not extracted back. So as those guys were ferried back and forth, Roger and I were like, yeah, man, there might be some guys like further down that just jumped into the trees or are lying prone in the grass that, weren't part of this rush. So let's make sure that we get all those guys. So
again, thermal?
Yeah. So that's exactly what Roger did. I looked at the tree line or the tall grass, and I could not see anything. And Roger would, be the thermal, like, yeah, there is something down there. And he would just like a millisecond put his laser on it, and as soon as that I saw the laser dot on something, that's when my nod eye understood like that's the shape of a human and not the shape of a fallen tree. And then so I went like, Roger spots something, millisecond laser, and then we both passively finish, and we kind of worked our way down the tree line. And then kind of almost at the end of the tree line, killing a couple of, I don't know how many, but a couple of guys that were like hiding in that tree line. I think it was, Roger spots something, and I think it was actually with his nods that he spotted it. He saw some sort of light cone in the tree line.
Oh God!
And so he sees a light cone. I think that's what attracted his attention, if I remember correctly. And then that's what prompted him to put up the thermal. He sees 2 heat signatures, and he engages the 2 heat signatures. And as an answer to engaging those 2 signatures, we obviously hear like 2 hit calls. And then we hear the Section 6 medic, like someone is calling out Section 6 medic, and Section 6 is our side. So we engaged friendlies, and it was Chris and Campbell who were hiding a little bit further down in the tree line, and those were the 2 individuals that were helping us from the shadows to engage that last group. And I think the reason we spotted them is because they had their duals flipped up using their thermals, and the duals were casting, the light out of the duals was kind of illuminating their face, and I think that's how Roger spotted them and then took them out. But they were friendly, so
lesson learned: if you flip up your nod, turn them fuck off.
Turn them off, yeah. Or if you don't have the auto shut off, make sure you turn them off. But then we medic them. We pulled them out, and then really big kudos. I think it was 2 Cal guys, and I think one of them was DB Spotter. I guess he was kind of hanging back of his assault force, because I guess he was leading them. So I think he was keeping radio comms with both his assault group, the other assault group, and back in their CP. So him and one other guy went prone in the tall grass. And as I've mentioned before, it was, I don't know about.
You mean that tall grass again?
No, that was at the bottom of the hill. So we're literally talking probably this tall.
Oh, that tall, really?
Yeah. No, but I had fully waterproof Gore-Tex boots. And walking through that grass, my boots were completely soaked. My pants were soaked up to here in water. And I don't know what it was about this field, but there was so much mist and all the grass in that it must have been like a dried out riverbed or something. Like everything was so moist and wet at night. It was unreal. So these two guys went fully prone in the grass, and they were soaked. Like big respect to those guys. They were completely soaked and drenched. And again, with the nods, it was impossible for me to see the figures even after Eskins, who was using thermals, and Roger was using thermals, called out the that there is something. I was like, focus. I don't see anything. It wasn't until they lased them that I was actually able to make it out. So that's again another proof that obviously the cold grass, a human body is going to shine like there's no tomorrow. So that was one of the other amazing engagements of this game.
So definitely thermals for wet and misty, cold environments for sure.
Huge difference, yeah.
That game alone, just the entire team right now tries to collect money to get everyone a thermal.
Yeah, thermals are key.
So is there any... Now talking about Out of War, I mean, the whole thing about this game is it's all dictated by thermals, and you keep talking about nothing else than fucking thermals.
Yeah.
Is there any gear or tactic which mattered?
Well, the one time we were using the thermal, it was.
I feel like the most important gear you could have would be the lawn chairs, the Canadian Maple Leaf lawn chairs,
and Snuggie blanket.
and Snuggie blankets. Canadian lawn chairs and Snuggie blankets are a must for every game.
Well, I guess in terms of tactics, again, there was this other situation where I think we've mentioned it a couple of times now, but identifying your friendlies and foes.
Or not.
Or not, yeah. So what happened is Roger and I snuck to the enemy CP, shot a couple of guys, took some prisoners. We're on our way back to our CP with a prisoner. And it was actually pretty embarrassing because the guy wasn't using nods, but he was able to walk pretty well. And Roger and I were both wearing nods, and we were like stumbling and falling all over the place. So like, shit, like this guy's pretty good.
Oh, wait. There was another game where you sneaked in the enemy CP and didn't even tell us?
Yeah, we did it at Art of War too. Yeah, we snuck it in the NECP. We killed some guys in their sleep, and then we took a prisoner and got out. And yeah.
How was it sneaking enemy CPs with thermals? I mean, go ahead.
It was actually pretty funny. We were making like our approach, and I'm like, okay, Roger, tell me which tents have heat signatures, right? Because he can look at the tent and know if there's someone inside. And I just remember Roger kind of like going up, doing one of his scan. He looks at me like, all of them. And I was like, okay.
Target rich environment.
Yeah, exactly. So I know we snuck into some of the tents, and I would lie next to the guy who was sleeping in their tent. And
you were lying next to the guy in the tent.
Well, yeah, I had to get close to him somehow to whisper in his ear.
Close to him.
Well, yeah, because I didn't want to make too much noise, so we slowly opened the zipper, and then I snuck in, and I would lie next to them and whisper in their ear like, wake up, wake up, wake up. They would wake up and be like, you're dead. Don't turn on your kill light. And then, yeah, we killed a couple of guys. It was pretty funny.
So you're pretending to be his or her boyfriend?
Basically, yeah.
And pretending like, oh, I'm your boyfriend, but you're dead?
Basically, yeah. So keep them calm, you don't want to awake them shockingly. Yeah.
So you decided the romantic thing to not shock?
Yeah. But actually, no, like on a more serious note though, what I was like, we entered quite a number of tents, and I was actually surprised that there was a couple of guys in tents that weren't wearing iPro.
On a hot field.
It was a hot field. They were in their tents, but as said, there's guys like us that sneak in. Or I mean, let's keep it real. A 400 FPS gun, if there's a firefight breaking out in that CP, will go in one side of the tent and come out the other.
How do you identify a target under thermals?
I think it's really tough because I mean
that's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean under nods. I mean between us, I think we're able to identify. You're running low there.
I'm slowly getting dehydrated. So.
I think for us under nods by now we're able to tell us apart from others just by the gear that we have and the movement that we make under nods, right? But I think under thermals, because there's such a blooming effect and so much washing out, I think it's probably you're gonna be unable to identify, even just judging the movement of a person, if you know what it is, it's probably really really tough. So.
Well, I have back pain, so yeah.
Yeah. There you go. So yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah,
I think that sums up out of one.
yeah,
or
pretty
two.
much. Yeah, it was an awesome game. So
Cool.
Go to that washroom.
I need more beer.
oh, there's one.
But you need more beer too.
I'm okay.
Is this thing recording the microphone?
No, gonna stand back for now.
Whoa. Put that.
Test 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 wicked
Test, test,
wicked
test.
wicked 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 wicked.
I'm totally sending that to HR. That's so awesome.
Okay.
Good. Seriously.
What? You guys?
You ruined my audio recording. Okay? Yes. We're not sponsored by Coca-Cola, we're sponsored by Löwenbräu.
We're not though.
No, we're not, but at least the pronunciation. Oh, fuck off.
It's not even our fault. It's like confusing.
Dude, it's fucking blurred as well, not even your standard.
Where's David?
Huh?
Where's David?
He left.
What the fuck?
Huh?
He wanted you to bring a beer and he just fucking ran away.
I don't know.
Fucking coward. I can't even rely on anything anymore.